Young children, active, busy, curious about the world. In these early years, children grow and learn faster than at any other time in their lives. But when we watch, what do we see? They're playing. As infants, toddlers, at 4 and 5 years. Throughout childhood, they play. Some say play is a child's work. And many play activities do take lots of effort. But we think of work as something we have to do. Play is what a child wants to do. What feels best at the moment?
I'm making a cake. What are you making, Timothy? A cake? Are you? No. What are you making? A castle.
In play, a child can explore and experiment. There's no right way or wrong way. No way to fail. He can enjoy what he's doing. At the same time, he's learning all kinds of things. In this program, we're going to look at how a child's play is a framework for learning.
I think I learned about play through necessity when, in my first year of teaching. It was, this is almost embarrassing to talk about, but I came to preschool out of secondary education, and I thought that the way to teach children, all children, was the lecture method. You know, you stand up and in high school you lecture about Chaucer, in preschool you lecture about fish or weather or colors or whatever. And so I did that for a couple of weeks and discovered that the discipline problems were so awful. Kids were running around and screaming, and they wouldn't sit down when I told them to. Not that teenagers do either, but and they wouldn't line up, and they wouldn't do all of these magical things that I thought they should do. And suddenly I realized, with a little bit of help from my supervisor, that what they needed to do if they were going to learn about colors was touch colors and see colors and explore with different colors of paint, all of those kinds of things, rather than hear me talk about the wonderfulness of red. So that was my very first exposure to the concept that play is a valuable thing for children, that play is what children do, and all of those other things that may or may not be valuable with older children have no real place with preschool kids.
Still working on that.
For decades, experts have studied how young children learn. They tell us that play is the young child's learning laboratory. It's active, hands-on learning, learning by doing. Even very young children will try something over and over. Stay at it. Try to understand more, to become more skillful.
Well, I always knew that children learned through play. They learned language skills and social skills through play, just from my observations from being a teacher. But the academic skills, I think it was first brought home to me in my first years of teaching that children really learn academic skills through play. And what I mean by that is numbers, colors, shapes, letters. In the fall, there were certain children that I knew that lacked certain academic skills. And what I did was set up the environment in such a way that they were exposed to colors, numbers, shapes, letters in various different ways throughout the whole year. And my finding was by the end of the year, they knew those skills. And the thing that I had not done was direct teaching. It was, through the play.
A child's play experiences, at home and at school, build learning in the very best and most natural way. Let's look at how play helps young minds and bodies develop. Physical skills. It's easy to see how active play helps young bodies grow. And nothing characterizes childhood more than movement. Children love all kinds of active play. They need to be physically active every day to gain a sense of what their bodies can do, to build balance, strength, and coordination.
Here's one for you, Colleen.
Children want to use their small muscles too. Young hands need to try all kinds of different activities. Young hands get stronger, able to do more precise tasks. Soon they'll be able to control pens and pencils as they begin writing.
She have food in her basket.
Through play, children are continually refining their physical abilities and becoming more skillful.
The basket and go someplace like the park.
Thinking skills. Learning to think is more than just collecting facts. It's being able to organize information and use it in a meaningful way.
And once you see a child involved in pouring water and so intense, or looking at the water wheel and turning it over and upside down and around and really exploring it, you can see that, you almost see the little brain going around and the child processing what's happening, what happens when I do this, what happens when you put the water in the other end. They're taking in information and then organizing it, and basically the child, through his experimenting, is really doing a lot of discovery learning.
Sorting through colored macaroni may not look like it takes a lot of thinking, but it does.
Macaroni.
That was good work. You see any more in there?
You're
Done. And maybe I'll give you another one. Okay. There you go.
Let me find some more. I'll take that.
Could you see some of the things this child was doing in her head? To find the rings, she had to compare different shapes and sizes. Then she sorted out all the circles. And then she counted them. All important thinking skills.
Okay.
I take these shells.
All right.
What?
Look at how these children have taken an idea in their minds and turned it into a real object.
Wow, this is so big. Who made this?
Me.
You did?
Both of them.
Both of you made this.
Oh, my baby.
These are Mexican things? Oh my goodness. like butterflies to you? Oh, wow.
That really is fun.
How did you get this? Do you think it'll fall down?
No. These.
He's got these?
These to hold it.
Oh, and that'll make it safe?
To erect their 6-story castle, these 4-year-olds had to solve a number of problems. To discover what worked and what didn't. During play, children are observing and planning, encountering problems, and finding creative ways to solve them. As they move on to more formal learning situations, children build on the thinking skills they've developed through play. Language skills. Children are born into a world of spoken language, and they learn language by listening to words and by using them. In play, children are learning from their parents, their teachers, and from each other.
This.
He has a head. Nose.
This.
Eyes.
Ah.
Does this look like it could come out? It's a big nose, isn't it? It's an elephant trunk.
This.
It's got eyebrows right there.
It's through everyday experiences that language becomes meaningful. For example, here, Daniel is playing with toy cars. You can see that he already understands a lot about cars. He knows they make sounds. He knows how they move. Daniel has a growing understanding of what a car is. In his mind, a mental picture of car is slowly taking shape. When he hears the word car, he begins to associate the word with his mental picture. Before long, he'll begin to use the word car. All language is acquired this way. Lots of experience. Then an understanding of the object, what it is, what it's for. Finally, the word for the object takes on meaning. These preschoolers already know much more than Daniel about the world of cars.
No, this is only a one-way street. This is a one-way street. He didn't see the sign. That's not a bus, that's a motorhome. Motorhome. Oh.
As children listen to others, as they talk and play, language takes on meaning. It's a process that goes on and on. Social emotional skills. The key to building confidence and self-esteem, to making friends and enjoying others. Learning how to get along with others takes practice. Practice that comes when children play together.
Remember to turn them all the way around, Alex.
Go down here, Colleen. Yay! We did it.
Oh, isn't that a good feeling?
These children are learning to work together, to cooperate and to share, learning how to help each other. But play can also involve conflict, and it takes experience to learn how to handle frustration and anger. Children need to learn how to use words instead of force to solve their problems, how to use restraint and control themselves. Learning to deal with feelings and respond appropriately is a lifelong process that begins with a child's play.
We have a problem because Nicholas wants to roll it, but
what the sign says? You jump in. So it has to stay on the floor, and then you put your feet here and you jump inside. So jump inside. Try it. Good. Now jump out. Okay. And then follow the arrow. Where does the arrow take you?
We've seen that children develop skills and knowledge as they play. But the real power of play is that in any experience, a child has the opportunity to learn many different things. Play brings it all together. Play helps children build a whole constellation of skills. But does it also help children prepare for academic learning? If we look closely, we'll see that many important academic skills, including those of reading and writing, begin to emerge as children play.
A lot of parents are comfortable with letting their children play. Where they get concerned is, does play provide the right foundation for later academic learning? And that's the question that makes them a little bit concerned about letting their child come to preschool and play, or at home they may feel like they need to do real structured activities to get that child ready for school or ready for academic kinds of learning. And I think there's a pressure almost that parents feel to not just play with their child or enjoy their child, but do structured activities. And they don't seem to realize that we're taking away from children what most experts feel is the most important part of that foundation, and that's just time to play.
Time to play. Preparation for academics. They sound miles apart, and parents are concerned about what's best for their children. At the same time, there's so much pressure to achieve. Early childhood educators want to assure parents that in play, children are also developing academic skills. Perhaps no other area gets as much attention as that of reading. Parents are bombarded with information on teaching young children to read.
Reading. It certainly has changed. Certainly in the last 15 years, lots of things have changed about reading. We used to think little children learned by kind of gathering all the little pieces. First they learned the alphabet letters, and then they would put them together a little bit and get the sounds of some of it, and then they would kind of get words like cut, and somehow they would just put this package together and they would learn to read. And we somehow thought that that happened at first grade. That was a first grade job.
Today, many educators are looking at a whole language approach to reading. We no longer think of the reading process as a number of separate skills. The whole language approach recognizes that children learn to read in much the same way that they learned to talk. When a child first learns to talk, we don't break speech into small skills and drill the child. Instead, we accept and encourage the child's attempts at speech. We talk to them, try to help them see the connection between words and objects. We know that reading doesn't begin in the first grade. It begins much, much earlier, right along with learning to talk.
We know that children learn to read because of wonderful experiences with talking, having people talk to them, listen to them, that they've had wonderful experiences with books, read over and over and over and over until mom says, gee, I don't know where the runaway bunny is, honey. It's the child who is scribbling lots of little notes. It's that kind of process of talking and listening, hearing language, hearing stories to them, and beginning to write it, beginning to want to imitate adults. Young children who've been talked to and listened to, children who've been read to over and over, children encouraged to make pictures or write notes. The kid who brings this little scribble on a piece of paper says, this says, get ice cream at the store, Mom, okay? Those are the children who become capable readers and powerful writers. They are the ones who can do it.
Building oral language, learning to love books, and learning the value of print. These provide a solid base for reading. Let's see how they're all embedded in play. Building oral language. We've seen that children need to listen to language and to use it, and that the things a child plays with become the topics of conversation.
I know. Yeah! Put it right here. This can be a one-way street. One-way. That way too. But they can go that way too, and that way. So they can go either way, that way. Not different.
The link between oral language and reading is very clear. The child who has a storehouse of words that he understands is the child who will be able to understand those same words when he begins to read.
That was me, right? And then on the letter you say who it's from.
Play continually broadens a child's language understanding.
That makes it bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah, that makes you see better.
Does it make the letters on your shirt bigger? Ooh, it certainly does. How about your nose? Would it work on that? My, what a large nose you have.
My, what a large nose you have.
If Timothy had never played with a magnifying glass, he wouldn't know what it was or what it could do. Now, when someone reads to Timothy about a magnifying glass, he'll know exactly what these words mean. Later, when he begins to read about a boy who discovered things with his magnifying glass, Timothy will really understand. Research shows that children with good oral language skills are the ones most likely to learn to read easily and well. And play is the natural, enjoyable way children become good talkers and listeners. Learning to love books. It starts very early. When parents read to their children, pointing out pictures, talking about them.
Goes down and over here. And the kitties are playing with the string. They're playing around with the string. Yeah, right there. The string goes down, and the kitties are playing.
Oh, where's he looking?
The experience of being read to is very powerful. It draws children into the magic books hold, into the facts and the fantasy, into the world of imagination.
No old brown hat. What did he do here? Where was he looking? And where are you looking? Who would he look under here? He even lifted up that chicken and saw she was sitting on his old brown hat.
Reading specialists tell us that when we read to children again and again and again, they get more and more curious about the messages on the printed page. They begin to point to words and ask, "What does this say?"
Where do you suppose he did with it?
Joseph already knows that books hold important information. Here, books are part of the play.
Oh, these ones have sharp teeth. Yeah, very sharp. Here's a dead dinosaur because its feet are broken off. What is this one? What is this one in her? Oh, this one is that same white. Look, he's on the page.
As children look at books, they find out how books work, how stories go from page to page, how the pictures give clues about the words. Experiences with books excite children and encourage them to want to read. Learning the value of print. Children are surrounded by a world of print. Slowly, they begin to discover that print has meaning.
This sign says you can have 1, 2, 3. So you need to find 3 crackers to put on your plate. Okay. There's one sandwich. Put that one on. That's number 1. Just a minute, Beth. Marcus getting some. 1. Okay, there's 1.
And there's 2.
There's number 2.
There's number 3.
There's number 3. Now you have 3. That's just right. And here's your juice. Tara's going to help you get your juice.
The more we expose children to print that's meaningful to them, the more intrigued they become with it.
1, 2, 3. Beth has 3. Has a new brown hat.
They're discovering that print is another way to communicate, and they want to send messages too.
Love that old brown. I wonder what we're fixing.
This is right here.
Hi.
What's your name?
Oh, you wanted to write her name.
Children begin to write by scribbling, but soon letters will appear in the midst of the scribbles. Children who see print as meaningful and begin to write are becoming aware of many things. They begin to recognize letters and words that interest them. All these experiences with print lead toward reading. Today, educators tell us that the development of reading and writing go hand in hand.
A big question that comes up around the whole reading or academic or learning issue is how can we trust, both as teachers and as parents, that kids will learn? We'll learn to read, we'll learn to write, we'll do all of those things. Educators are fortunate. They have access to research. It kind of floods over us. And so we can plan a program. We have the ability to look at good research and say, this is how young children learn. We know that young children will learn more if they touch, if they try it, if they play with it and talk about it. Parents don't have that advantage. You know, a few parents do, but not too many people have time to read a lot of research. So parents are really put in a position of having to have faith, of having to wait and trust that it will unfold in their children, that they've had faith and trust that their children will walk, that their children will talk to them and say, Mommy, I want juice. And that what is happening is that parents must trust that their children somehow knew how to become walkers and talkers because they wanted to. The drive was there. And now the faith is that they must trust that children will become readers and writers because they couldn't imagine not being like mom and dad, because they want to be competent people. Children want to be capable in every sense of the word, and they want to be like grown-ups. And the way that they come to it is through their play.
Through their play, academic skills, life skills, a solid foundation for the whole child. In this program, we've seen that play is the framework for learning. In play, each child can learn at his or her own rate. There's no right way or wrong way. Play is just doing. And in the doing is pleasure and excitement, and a world of learning. The next time you're watching young children and you hear someone say, "Well, they're just playing," you'll know that play is learning. And you can say, "Yes, isn't that great?"